Once upon a time, in a crowded city where everyone was busy chasing dreams, there sat a beggar near a temple gate. His clothes were torn, his hair messy, and his eyes reflected years of pain and disappointment. Every morning, he stretched out his hand, hoping for a few coins. But most people just walked past him, ignoring his existence like he was invisible. One day, as the sun rose and people filled the streets, a wise old man came and stood beside him. He watched the beggar for a while, then asked softly, "Why do you beg every day?" The beggar looked up, surprised. "Because I have nothing," he said bitterly. "Life has been cruel to me. No one helps. I was born poor and I'll die poor." The old man smiled and said, "Maybe. You're not poor. Maybe you've just chosen to be." The beggar frowned. "What do you mean? Look at me. I have no home, no money, no future." The old man sat beside him and pointed to the people walking by. They too have worries. They too are hungry, not for food, but for peace, success, happiness. You think poverty is about money? No. Poverty begins in the mind. When you accept failure as your fate, you become poor forever. The beggar was silent. He had never heard words like that before. The old man continued, "You think your hands are empty, but they're not. You still have time, strength, and a mind, the greatest treasure. Change the way you think, and life will change with it." The beggar laughed weakly. "That's easy for you to say. I can't just think myself rich." The old man stood up, looked into his eyes, and said, "No, you can't think yourself rich, but you can think yourself capable. The moment you believe you can do something, you'll start seeing paths you never saw before." And with that, he left. The beggar couldn't sleep that night. Those words echoed in his mind. Change your thinking, life will change. The next morning, he didn't sit at the temple. Instead, he walked down to the river, washed his face, and thought, "What can I do with these hands?" He remembered how he used to carve little wooden toys as a child. So he decided to try again. He collected old wood from trash piles and started carving small figures. At first, they were rough and simple, but he didn't give up. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, people began to notice his work. Children smiled at his wooden animals and tourists began to buy them. For the first time in years, he felt alive. Months passed. The beggar, who was no longer a beggar, opened a small stall, then a small shop. He trained other poor men, teaching them how to carve wood and earn with dignity. One evening, the same old man came walking down the street. He stopped when he saw the shop, full of beautiful carvings, and behind the counter stood the man who once sat in rags. The beggar's eyes filled with tears. "You were right," he whispered. "It wasn't life that needed to change, it was me." The old man smiled, placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "Your outer world changes only after your inner world does. Remember, the richest person is the one who knows how to think differently." The story of that beggar spread through the city, not because he became rich, but because he became an example of transformation. So now, I want to ask you, how do you see your life today? Are you waiting for someone to change it for you? Or are you ready to change your mindset and take control? Because maybe, just maybe, your life isn't stuck. Maybe your thinking is. Change it and watch the world change with you. If this story moved you, don't just scroll away. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. Because sometimes one story, one thought, one mindset shift can change a life forever.